She thought the slap would destroy her, but it ignited a storm no bully could outrun. Before you dive in, hit subscribe for more unbelievable real-life twists that will leave your heart racing. On the first Monday of the new term, when sunlight poured like molten gold onto the courtyard of Crestwood High, no one expected the girl who always sat alone in the corner to become the center of the biggest scandal the school had ever seen. But that's exactly what happened the moment 18-year-old Liana Hale stepped into the assembly area holding nothing but her books, her calm, and the quiet strength that only people who've survived too much learn to carry. For months she had endured whispers, laughter, and cruel tricks from the most feared trio in school, Amanda Hart, Chelsea Vaughn, and Brielle Stone, the untouchable royals of Crestwood, but nothing came close to what they had decided to do on that day in front of 200 students crammed into the courtyard for the principal's safety announcement, where the sun was hot, the air was heavy, and tension vibrated like a plucked string. The crowd buzzed the moment they saw Amanda stride toward Liana with that icy smirk that could curdle blood, and though some students whispered, "Not again," no one moved to help because standing against the royals was social suicide, and Liana, quiet, brilliant, scholarship-bound Liana, had never been the type to fight back or even speak up. But what no one knew, what even the bullies couldn't imagine, was that this was the very morning Liana had promised herself she would never, ever allow anyone to hurt her again, not after the night she overheard her grieving father breaking down believing he'd failed to protect her from the world. So when Amanda reached her, snatched the book out of Liana's hand, and tossed it into a puddle caused by the broken courtyard fountain, the students flinched but stayed silent, anticipating the usual collapse, the look of quiet humiliation, the lowering of eyes. But Liana's eyes didn't lower, they rose, steady and unblinking, and that single unexpected spark of defiance enraged Amanda more deeply than any insult ever could, pushing her into a split-second decision that would soon destroy her perfect reputation. In a sudden movement so sharp the sound echoed, Amanda slapped Liana across the face, a full, unrestrained, open-handed slap that cracked through the courtyard like a whip. Students gasped, someone screamed, phones came out instantly, and the shock of what had just happened froze everyone in place. But what came next was what would change everything. Liana did not cry, did not step back, did not crumble. Instead, she looked Amanda straight in the eyes with an expression the bully had never seen before, calm, cold, and strangely pitying, as she said in a low voice that carried more weight than a scream, "You shouldn't have done that." Amanda scoffed, but the confidence in her eyes faltered for the first time because something about Liana's tone felt wrong, like the opening of a storm. And before Amanda could retort, Principal Gaines pushed through the crowd demanding to know what happened. But students were already shouting over one another, videos were being sent to group chats, and chaos was brewing. Yet Liana remained still, rubbing her cheek only once before telling the principal she would explain everything in his office. Amanda smirked, assuming Liana would be the one punished because, as always, the royals' parents donated too much money to the school for any administrator to dare cross them. But this time, the story wasn't going to unfold the way it had in the past, because Liana had walked onto campus that morning armed with a truth no one expected. She wasn't the small, powerless target everyone thought she was. The daughter of a woman whose life had fallen apart because of those same bullies, a woman whose legacy Liana intended to honor by ending the cycle once and for all. When they reached the office, Principal Gaines tried to speak, but Liana raised her hand politely and said, "Sir, before anything else, you should see the full video," and she pulled out her phone, opening a recording she had captured on her hidden body cam, the one her father insisted she wear after months of unreported harassment. The principal's face turned ash white as he watched the footage, not only of the slap, but of weeks of torment, shoving, stolen notes, vandalized locker messages, whispered threats, and when the video ended, he stood up so abruptly his chair screeched across the floor, calling the superintendent himself, who demanded immediate suspension of the bullies pending investigation. But Amanda's confidence was too inflated to accept consequences and she burst out laughing, saying her mother would fix everything like always, unaware that the entire time they were in the office, the live stream of the slap had already reached thousands online, with students from other schools, alumni, and even celebrities resharing it with captions like, "Justice for Liana," and "Expel the Royals." By the time Amanda's mother stormed into the school ready to threaten lawsuits, the district board was already preparing statements and crisis teams had arrived. But the true twist was still hidden. Liana, instead of rushing home or collapsing from the pressure, requested an emergency assembly. Yes, she requested it, because she wanted the truth to be revealed publicly, not whispered in hallways. And though Principal Gaines hesitated, the superintendent approved it immediately, recognizing the importance of public accountability. When all 200 students filed back into the courtyard, buzzing with fear and curiosity, Liana walked onto the stage with a steadiness that made even teachers stare, and she told the crowd everything: how the bullying began, how she stayed silent to protect her scholarship, how she thought enduring pain quietly was strength, until the night her father, who worked 2 jobs after her mother's passing, cried believing she was losing herself, and how she decided to reclaim her voice from that day forward. Tears broke across the crowd, even in faces that ordinarily held nothing but indifference, and then Liana delivered the line that would go viral across the entire country: "Strength isn't how much pain you can take. It's how much truth you can speak." At that moment, Amanda lunged as if to grab the mic, but security stepped in. The district had quietly brought them for safety, and escorted her, Chelsea, and Brielle off campus while students erupted into a mixture of relief and shock. But the story was not over, not even close. Later that night, as Liana sat with her father reviewing emails from universities praising her courage, she received a message from a lawyer representing a national anti-bullying organization, offering her a paid partnership to share her story in campaigns. Soon after, a documentary team reached out, wanting to feature her not as a victim, but as an empowered young woman who turned the tables. Meanwhile, Amanda and her friends faced mandatory hearings where secrets spilled, teachers admitting past complaints, students confessing to seeing abuse but staying silent, parents revealing donations used to cover up prior incidents. The royals' reign collapsed completely, their reputations destroyed not by revenge, but by the truth Liana had released like a tidal wave. And months later, when Liana stood on stage at her graduation as valedictorian, she looked out into the crowd, at her father wiping tears, at her classmates cheering loudly, and she realized the slap that was meant to break her had instead given her the courage to rebuild herself stronger than ever, becoming a symbol of resilience not only for Crestwood High, but for thousands who watched her story unfold across the world. And as she stepped down from the podium, a younger student approached her, trembling, whispering, "Because of you, I finally told someone about my bullies," and that, more than the standing ovation or college offers or online fame, was the moment Liana knew her response that day hadn't just changed everything for her. It had changed everything for everyone who had ever felt voiceless, proving once and for all that sometimes the quietest people carry the loudest truths, and sometimes a single slap meant to silence someone becomes the first spark in a revolution that can no longer be ignored.